You're fine.
Okay.
You on?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. So, again, as we keep recording this, whether the class is in a setting like this, or whether the class is in a setting with a nice room, or whether the class is in a setting at one of your academies, it's going to be the same class. And then the reason why we record it is because you may not be able to get the same people, or you're going to get fresh new people in the future, but instead of having to get everybody again in the same room, just give them a copy of the video. These videos, and every video we get, we always send it up to YouTube, and we have a channel called their Firescape Academy, which I'm going to show you right now. And so at any time, you can either have a CD, because sometimes you're blocked from getting on YouTube, because the city says they don't want you watching some other things on YouTube other than what you're supposed to be watching. So we have the CDs, and as long as you put the CDs up on your TVs or during, you can literally just play these videos and then just talk about them. So that's what's going to get you guys, as people come in and out, move up or move out, whatever the situation may be, is how do I get back onto this awareness? So a lot of our classes are 6 hours long with continuing ed credits, 3 hours long with continuing ed credits, 1 hour long, and some of them no credits. And some of them are going to be just like this, a one-on-one setting. We would just tell you where to go get this free information, because as you guys know, with budget cuts, big staffs, small staffs, and now you're stuck with not having as much information readily available. So in order for us to get this information nationwide to you, we started doing classes. And these classes, this is what's called a mini seminar. So the seminar I'm giving you right here is there's a mini one that's called Firescape Awareness. So when I sent you guys the link that said nationwide seminar, it's about 20 videos in there. You want to go see what Portland, how I trained Portland for 3 hours, then, you know, Portland, Oregon, go ahead. You want to see Houston, go ahead. And otherwise, you want to get the quick mini version, either you watch your own video or you watch this one. And I just want to play this one so that you guys can see that it also comes in with a Channel 7 news piece.
Smack the lights, Cap.
No, that's better.
That's good.
No, this is good. This is good, man.
So this was a class that we taught to all the housing authorities. So the NIAM is the Affordable Housing Association. So they had us come in and do a class to speak with all their real estate agents, all their management companies, and all the landlords.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him,
Scared to death.
but the fire escape that broke underneath him.
The railing just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape. And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one, a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files,
But there's no fire escape certification.
to see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes.
Did it fall through the cracks?
Not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess that the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation if you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.
So the main thing that a lot of people are not aware of,
So,
that is the law.
this is a class that I recorded only a week or so ago, and you can just sit here and watch this one and say, let me see what this guy's talking about. And the great thing about this one, as it plays along, every slide that I put on, it'll come right in the screen. We'll do the same thing to this one, but it usually takes a month to 3 months before we sort of do the editing to make it all beautiful. And, otherwise, right now, this is in its rawest form. So the class that I'm doing, this is the short version, the fast version, which is basically the same one we're going to do right now. Okay. So let me shut this one off, and let me go right now into, if you want to turn on the lights. So we have on Fire Escape Academy, if we go back, I have 2 playlists there, and one playlist which is already sent to you guys. It says Fire Escape Seminars. Every seminar we've been doing, it's there. It's like 18 hours worth of stuff, but it's basically the same class in various parts of the country. I also have Fire Escape Inspector Training. Now, Inspector Training is basically the class where if I got an inspector, if I got anybody to stand next to me for whatever reason, and this is an example. I even got Inspector Hewitt to go out with me, and I recorded, and he's down here on the. He's got to get a few more views, otherwise he doesn't make it on the top roster. But he's down here. He's currently trying to work his way up. He's got a DVD coming out soon. You know, rapping on fire escapes is a whole new thing. He's trying to see if he can get, but it's on here somewhere. I got to find him. But with that, let's go into a class, which is a great class. Let's watch this, which is the building official. So here I was teaching a class in Lowell, Massachusetts, and the building commissioner was the only one that can hang out with me at the end of the day. So there's nothing better than having him be trained on what needs to be looked at. So let's take a look at this video.
Say your last name. Marsilia, Italiana.
The great thing about this class is that as it plays, I'm going to stop it. This is a fire escape that have everything wrong with it, so let's just talk about it. So let's let it hold up for a minute, let it buffer a little bit. So here I am with a commissioner. So if you can ever get me, Marcus for example, if you're one of the training officers, I want to get you out there and we walk around on a fire escape, and we just, I basically test you on what you're looking for. Now imagine this being the video that you have in a little snippet, a little 7-minute snippet, and you get a call from a building inspector, I mean not building, but a homeowner, a management company, or some engineer, like, hey, what do you want? Say, oh, what's your email? My email is such, and you send them the link to your video saying, hey, this is me in East Orange, walking around telling you exactly what I want.
And then you just play it. And the guy just sort of watches it, and there's a standard that you said. So in your city, you want everybody to pull a permit if they're fixing a fire escape? Yes. In your city, if the fire escape is old, you want a renovator's license? Yes. In the city, you want a load test or you want a guaranteed certification? Yes. In my city...
Guaranteed certification.
So...
What's the difference between a load test and a guaranteed certification?
Let's cut right to it. Everybody got their little sheets that I handed out to everybody?
No, you can give me one.
Everybody get one of these? Let's keep it simple. What is a guaranteed certification? And let me tell you what we've invented. We've invented and pioneered all the original industry standard documentation because it just didn't exist. So imagine you guys until 2011, there's never been any industry documentation ever on fire escapes. So how have you been watching it? How has anybody nationwide been watching any of this stuff? But your question is, what's the difference between a guaranteed certification and a load test?
Right.
Let's take a piece of a tread as an example. And that tread could represent the staircase or the platform, but I'm just going to talk about a tread. And that tread, actually, let's take a look at this platform right there. That platform is 2 feet wide, and it's about 15 feet long. Would you agree?
Yeah.
15 times 2 is 30 square feet. 30 square feet times 100 pounds per square foot says that should be able to hold 3,000 pounds. What your law says on your code, it says that it needs to be load tested and or inspected. So if it's going to get inspected, that means somebody's got to have to satisfy you that it's been inspected in lieu of a load test. Okay? So let's load test it first. You're like, you know what? I don't want these certifications. I want nothing but load tests. So I have to come there and I have to bring 3,000 pounds of sand, bags, bricks, never people, because you guys do that already. You guys already live load test these things with your own bodies anyway. But I got to put 3,000 pounds on this little platform right there. Now, if I'm a smart guy, before I do the load test, I would make sure that all my supports are looking good, all my connections look good, there's no rust anywhere, because I know what a pass looks like. Do you know what a fail looks like? You know what I'm saying? It's pieces of the fire escape on the ground on top of somebody's toes or on top of somebody's head. So load testing is very dangerous to put up 3,000 pounds anywhere. And I don't have to put weight on it. I can come from underneath it with a truck, put a cable up to it, and exert 3,000 pounds. Try to lift the ass of a truck and exert. So there's your load test. Do it for 30 minutes, engineer oversight, take a lot of measurements. It can't deflect more than 3/16 of an inch. If it deflects more than 3/16, right there on one of my load test criteria, it failed the test. That's for, you know, material that's been worn or material that's... Is there anything else not as dangerous? And by the way, that 3,000 pound load test probably cost the guy $3,000 to $5,000 to move around men, move around weights, move around things. You know how much of that went to bolts and paint? Nothing. So, in lieu of a load test, in your code, I'm going to talk about your code. In lieu of a load test, can we have a guaranteed certification? So if I go to this fire escape, and every one of those connections into the wall, I verify. I either open up the bricks all around each one, which is $200 to $500 a piece, or if I was to put an epoxy bolt next to it, that's called, either you verify it or you duplicate it. So now I drill a hole next to this connection, which is 50, 75, or 100 years old on some of your buildings now, and I put an epoxy bolt next to it, and then I mechanically fasten back to the original support. Now, do you care about the first support anymore? If I have a new bolt,
I assume that it's going to be okay if you do that.
Well, I got a new one. Do you care? Do I have to verify the first one anymore?
No.
I'm still going to pack it anyway. I can't leave a gaping hole in the fire escape, you know. So it's not like I can't repair it anymore. But I fixed the first one. But now I duplicate it to eliminate the concern on a 50, 75-year-old building. Do I do that to a 25-year-old building? No. Do I do it to a 50, 75, or 100-year-old building?
Yeah.
Yes, unless I can verify it some other way. But I've already told you to call a mason out here to open up that thing. He wants $250 to $500 a piece to open it up and close it, because he's just not going to open it up, you know. And so there's ways to duplicate it and secure it. Now, every bolt on that connection is either a square head bolt or a rivet. Now, I don't care if the bolt is good. If that bolt is 50 to 75 years old and it's a square head or a rivet, it's still 50 to 75 years old. The only way I can guarantee it right now is to load test it. But I already told you, load testing is $3,000 to $5,000. To say, is there any other way so we can save my clients, my people some money so that we don't have to load test? Because I understand your concern. You don't want to sign off on a 50 to 75-year-old bolt, and in case my fireman or one of these tenants get hurt, of course they're going to sue you because you signed off on this 50 to 75-year-old square head bolt or a rivet. I said, yeah,
If you allow me somewhere near that bolt to drill another hole behind it, in front of it, near it, and put a new bolt, I can keep the original and put a new bolt. Wouldn't that be considered a certified repair? Because I've now eliminated the original connection.
You've eliminated the failure of the original connection.
Or the possible failure, because that rivet and that bolt may be good. Because if it's bad, I don't need to drill a new hole. I already got a bad one, I got to pop it out anyway. So, but now, let me tell you about a tread. I got a tread with 2 square head bolts, and I got to drill this hole. And if anybody's ever done any drilling, I got to do a 1/4 inch drill hole first, and I got to blow it out to either 3/8 or 1/2 inch. 7 minutes. You take an impact gun today, or a little cutting disc on a grinder, and that same 2 square heads, bolts, I can either cut those with a grinder and pop those out with a popper and put in 2 new bolts. 2 minutes later, I'm done with that tread. So I can either, for the client, 7 minutes long, you know, reinforce those original bolts, or with today's technology, in 2 minutes, I can either impact gun those bolts out, you know, take them out, or I can just pop them out with a, you know, cut the head and just pop them out, put in 2 new bolts 2 minutes later. Which one do you think is cheaper for the client?
Cutting it off, putting it in the 2 minutes.
So a lot of times, in most cases, changing the bolt out on a good connection is fast, because I don't have to take the tread out still, you know, because there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just basically eliminating a 75-year-old bolt. That's called a certified. So if I get on this fire escape and I start going in every tread, every support, every every connection I basically duplicate, and it gets a full paint job. And in every joint, you start silicone shutting these things with 50-year silicone. Now, truly, the only thing these tenants have to do, all these owners of these buildings have to do the rest of your lifetime while you're here, is keep these things painted, because they'll always pass. So that's a certification versus load test. Certification, I take money and I use it to fix the fire escape. And then I beg with you, don't make me load test this thing, because I've prepared it for a load test. So why would you want me to load test it when I've got photographs of new connections into the wall? I've got photographs of brand new bolts on all the treads. I've got, you know, because somebody came and did a visit, you know. By the way, you forced me to get a permit on this. So now, you didn't go verify this. There was engineer oversight, which is 3 visits. So some engineer who's signing off on this already babysat this thing to make sure the vendor's not ripping off anybody. Number 2 is the vendor had to pull a permit with the city. So when that vendor's done, first of all, the vendor pulling a permit is not a landscaper guy fixing these things anymore. It's a guy that had to have a license, workers' comp, liability, pulled a permit, and then he had to sign off at the end. He had to call the building official. Because you know when the last time a building official went to check on a fire escape? 50 years ago. And now you guys know why your gray-haired guys that are still here, when they give you a little bit of advice, hey, in case of fire, don't use the fire escape, which makes absolutely no sense. And that because there was a perfect storm of stupidity. And what happened was, we started getting into a situation where for 75 years you guys were writing, by no fault of yours, because you thought people were interpreting it correctly, you were writing scrape and paint violations. And the scrape and paint violation says just that, scrape it and paint it. When I get a call, and we're going to use this as a case study, 155 Evergreen. I got in there and I spoke with Mike, and I went in there and I said, Mike, I know what needs to be done here. No, you don't. I said, no, yes I do. No, you don't. Yes, I do. I said, dude, he wants you to fix 3 treads and some ladders up on the roof, and that's all he wants. He doesn't want no piece of paper. He doesn't want no certification. He doesn't want anything. How much will you charge me to fix 3 treads that are broken and and stiffen up my ladders onto the roof? Now, why? Because he wrote some violation, and that guy, like many guys previous to him, said, hey, I'm going to read what it says here. And what that becomes is it a $2,000 repair or is it a $20,000 repair? But now who's watching, who's interpreting? In our system that we're going to be teaching you guys, I told them, hey, I can't make a move until I speak with your inspector. Oh, well, no, you know, dude, I can't make a move. I can't charge you until I speak with your inspector to identify what his violation is about. And when I speak with your inspector, I'm going to send him
East Orange Fire Prevention.
What's called an inspection criteria letter.
That's it.
And I'm going to say, hey, you wrote a nice violation to this guy. And this violation said he's got problems. Can you tell me, do you want, based on your code,
Captain Nero. Mark.
He told me, based on the letter that I sent him, I says, I've got 3 options.
I think he's in the car you want to sell.
Can you tell me which one of these you want? Do you want an opinion letter, a Band-Aid, duct tape, paperclip version to remove your violation? Because that's what my level 1 said. And by the way, on my level 1, when you read it, that letter that I sent you, I'm going to put so many disclaimers that put the responsibility back onto the owner and to you for accepting such a thing that I don't care who dies on this thing. You guys ain't getting to get me because I wrote a letter to somebody like you that says, what do you want? The level 1 opinion? Mickey Mouse duct tape version of this thing? Because that's what he's telling me. Or do you want a level 2? And the level 2 was a calculated guaranteed certification? Or do you want that expensive load test? And by the way, before I even load test it, I need to fix it anyway. So to get to 3, you got to jam through 2 anyway. Hopefully I can convince you that once we stop at 2, that you can forego the load test, because they're going to speak with the fire marshal, and the fire marshal says, oh, they certified this fire escape? It's ready for a load test? Yes. Then I don't want to order a load test. And that's what you have. The second thing we told the guy is, hey, no matter who you get to do this job, there's going to require, because there's so much damage on this fire escape, it's going to require oversight. It's going to require not the building inspector to babysit you, not Inspector Hewitt to babysit you. They're going to want somebody to call Inspector Hewitt and speak with you and say, hey, I'm Joe Engineer. I'm taking over this, and I've worked with this building for 75 years or 25 years. And that engineer now has to inform Inspector Hewitt here of his inspection criteria. And if Inspector Hewitt wants to go down there and meet with him and say, okay, what are you going to do to make sure that whatever vendor shows up here, and hopefully it's not a landscaper, hopefully it's not Joe Painter, hopefully it's going to be an ornamental ironwork guy that knows how to nuts and bolts technology and if he needs to replace certain metals. And we told him that. We said, this is what he wants. And I asked him this morning, I said, hey, anybody call you yet? Any engineer call you yet? So now there's activity going on, most likely at that building. Somebody's in there, some Joe landscapers, they're fixing whatever they can fix, do whatever they can, because now they're going to try to fix it first. So then they're going to bring in Joe Engineer, and hopefully he's not watching enough, but he's going to give him a letter, because the more money you pay for paper, guess what result you get?
Paper.
You get paper that says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, this fire escape is good. Because you didn't know anybody. And then you're going to say, who's this guy? Joe Engineer. Joe Engineer. How come? Have Joe Engineer call me. You say, Joe Engineer, when did you go look at this? Oh, I just looked at it last week. Oh, so they actually repaired it first without your consent, without your advice, without anything. Did you notice that there was a report already on this, a fire escape report that was done by another firm? Did you even watch that? Did you walk it through? Because I don't remember receiving an inspection criteria from you. I don't remember receiving anything from you. And all of a sudden now they call you in at the end after they fixed whatever they thought they should fix. They painted it. They silicone shut all the bad stuff. That's where you guys have been getting. That's what's been happening here, not just here, in the United States. So now, here I am in training one of the inspectors. This is a commissioner. And this is what we would use to help train. Let's see if it'll play.
So that one that's bleeding rust right there,
Academy Inspector
that's
Training
assumed to be a bad one.
Yes, and I'll
say your last name.
Dragon teeth.
call Dragon Tears.
See, we're here looking at he's the building commissioner of the city of Lowell, and we have a fire escape right down by our feet. What's the greatest thing about this is we're going to be able to see all the rust. And the
Is this
we're going to
38?
see all original
Joe, is this
hardware and
38
squares.
or-
We're going to
Yeah,
basically
this
have
is
class
Boston.
today, and what we're basically looking at is a fire.
I'll show you that next. We're going to go there.
This on it. So this is a perfect
The reason I like this one because it has a little bit of everything for you to look.
This is a perfect example of everything that can go wrong with a fire escape. Let's talk about this one. And then we're going to go look at these other ones, and this other one, and a big monster that's on the back. So this may be a 10 to 15 minute video, but what is on here works there. So let's take a look. More paint than rust, or more rust than paint? So that's all you need. Let's say they knew you were coming, Bob, and they painted this thing 100%.
And they know you're coming, so they will paint it. So
original hardware. So let's show people what original hardware is. This is a square bolt. Square bolts. Square bolts.
you see
And
square
some of these-
bolts.
So now let's take.
That means old.
Square bolts. Can you leave a car, a refrigerator, anything outside for 50 to 75 years and it'll still work? So here you have a fire safety system out in the rain, 50 to 75 years. And when you look up and somebody will paint it, if they know you're coming next week, they will paint that thing shiny black. Your first clue that this is basically somebody trying to take advantage of you is that you're looking for original hardware or new hardware. New hardware is hex head bolts. Old hardware is square bolts and rivets. So, and this is what you see. So as soon as you look at primarily the treads, which is where you're going to get trapped and killed, you see nothing but original hardware on this 50 to 75-year-old structure, and it's shiny black, you still fail it. It's got structural issues. And the guy goes, what do you mean? He goes, dude, in 50 to 75 years, minimally, these treads should have been swapped out once. I need to see new hex head bolts on all these treads, minimally. But you got other issues here. That's why I want your engineer to call me. I want to see his inspection criteria.
Underneath here, before we get on that side, Bob, how about grading? Any pop grading of the spacers? So what that means is when a fireman or a person steps and your leg goes through that, you get locked. You can't save yourself because now you're trapped with a bear trap.
Tenants or firemen.
How about rusty tiers?
Well,
any rusty tiers?
Get their legs jammed.
Indicating that water's getting into the connection. How about cement blowout into the back? See cement blowout. Okay, let's take a look. Any damage from a truck or anything? Any bends on this fire escape?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, here. Let's take a look at the square heads or rivets on the supports. Are those original or they've been switched out in the past 50 to 75
Square bolts
years?
fail, period.
Yeah. Let this fire escape rust this much.
Rivets fail. Rivets are older than square bolts. You can add another 25 years to the fire escape if you've got rivets on. The majority of the connections are rivets. It's 25 years older than your oldest fire escape you got in town.
And what does a rivet look like? Because I'm trying to...
It's just a round head, looks like a mushroom. A rivet is just a round head. The same thing you see on bridges.
Ah, okay, right. Okay,
same round rivets.
Smooth round head. Okay.
Round head it was put on there hot. And then they use those guns to smash it together. Right. And then it creates its own tail. Because the round head is a mushroom, but the tail is a shaft. But when it's hot and red, and you smash into it, it squishes the tail, and the tail makes a nut. Because it's squished.
Rivets fail.
Let's look at all the rust in between the connections. All the
rust fail.
Let's look at your treads. Missing.
I'm going to prove to you guys today that rust comes from the outside. I mean, from the inside out.
If I had my hammer, I do a hammer test. Any rust in any of the connections? Rust in all of them. The bulge. You see all the bulges, right?
All the rusty tiers.
You were looking up straight up.
Your hammer test, you hitting it and watch for the rust to come out?
If I hammer tested, it would fall. These would fall, and I'll show you that in the slideshow I'm about to show you.
How about this one over here? See all the rust? Any of these bolts that are holding as best they can, any of them totally gone? Are they all suspect in your mind?
You don't have to be looking for rust in a connection. As soon as you see rivets and square heads, and you can't see any new shiny bolts that they've painted, but it's hex heads. You can't see any. You don't need to see rust in a connection. The connections are already suspect. You're done. You can move along and get going because there's no evidence of maintenance. No evidence of maintenance is all you need from them to say, but it's sound. I walk up this thing every day. He goes, I know you do, and you've probably been lucky. The problem is, it's impossible for something that's 50 to 75 years out in this weather not to minimally have changed in its lifetime, usually 25 to 50 years after they were put up. So in 1950, 1975, there should have been a bolt change on this fire escape. I'm looking up, and you painted it. Great job of painting, by the way. But I can't see one new bolt. It's impossible for you not to.
Suppose he did it last year. He repaired it. Put the new bolt in.
You'd see it.
But he painted.
Yeah.
But he painted it now, so you gotta.
Different.
Yeah, the heads are always different.
Square, but it wouldn't be.
The paint is the least of your worries. The paint is going to be. The owner can paint the thing after it gets fixed. You know, the paint is the least of your worry. The paint doesn't hold it together. New bolts hold it together.
Yeah. Now let's see how it lands on the ground. Is this all rotting on the ground? Yeah. So the channel is completely gone.
With a hole.
I gotta tell you, well, none of the fire escapes in these storms.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. Based on what you've told us, there ain't a fire escape in East Orange that it passed.
Very good
Not
point.
one.
Very good point that you're bringing up, saying not one. The answer is yes, there's going to be a couple. The percentage is going to be so small that if you were a betting man, 98.5% of everything you're going to touch is not going to pass. So we have a situation here where we're going to be going in and basically keep failing, and you're going to get some blowback from tenants, blowback from management companies, blowback from everybody. But what are you really trying to do? You're trying to get a handle on these hand grenades that are all over the place, because are they going to kill the landlords?
No, they're going to kill us because we're going to be the first ones on them.
And sometimes it's tenants out having a smoke or whatever. But you're basically saying all we need to do is we need to get to a point where these fire escapes need to be identified. And we need to start the process. So let's take an example of what you guys need, because there's going to be some blowback. And a fire escape has a $25,000 problem. And that $25,000 problem is somebody who's under foreclosure, half the tenants are out, you name the problem. You know, even that guy with at Evergreen, 50 units, and he still has a money problem. Because he needs, he's down in Florida, and, he needs the money to, get a newer Cadillac or something.
The dogs down in Florida, right?
But you're going to have legitimate little old lady scenarios that are going to happen. And sadly, you're going to get to this little old lady who has not dealt with this fire escape. She's dealt with everything else. She's got new smokes, that you said so. She's got the carbon monoxide, which you said so. She's got this and she's got that, and they took care of the lead issue. And everything's a blip in the screen. Because you guys remember when we started dealing with lead? Now, how many buildings in the United States are now finally free of lead, because it became such a big problem that everybody just started dealing with it in one way. Either you scrape the thing down 4 feet plus, or you just rip out every little piece of wood you got in your house, and you just put in new sheetrock and new wood, and that's how everybody... So fire escapes are coming down that road. They're going to deal. But you need an immediate situation to protect tenants and firemen. So we got a $25,000 problem on the fire escape. Everybody's freaking out. People are calling the mayor, and they will. And they're calling you and saying, what's your problem? So here's your answer. Ready? You guys need some quick answers to say, hey, this is a life safety issue. We do have a problem there. You guys are familiar with scaffolding companies, correct? Mm-hmm. So a typical three-story house, residential, and the fire escape is just crap. It's either going to kill a tenant or it's going to kill a fireman, and it's got $25,000 worth of problem. Scaffolding will cost you $1,000 a month on average. Full staircase scaffolding next to this rotten piece of fire escape will basically pick up all these windows on the back of the house temporarily. So now, can the owner who's paying for this, will that buy you 1, 2, or 3 months for while you guys figure this stuff out? And you can duct tape that whole fire escape with caution tape, say don't get on it, don't get on it, don't get on it. And what is now getting people out and firemen into that one residential building?
The front entrance.
Front entrance, that's it.
No, but you scaffolding. You put scaffolding in the back for $1,000, right? Mm-hmm. Can the tenants get out?
Yeah, they can get out on the. You mean can they get out on the scaffolding?
Scaffolding,
Sure.
yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So there's your. I can't spend 25. Okay. We understand economy, blah blah blah, but we need an answer here. We're just not going to let it continue for 30 years like it's been. We're going to put scaffolding up. You need to order some scaffolding to get this. Can that apply to a 5-story commercial building? A piece of scaffolding put up all the way on next to the existing bad treads are missing fire escape.
Yeah, they can put up five. Yeah, they can put
right?
that up.
So now you've got an answer, and it's $1,000 a month. Does it involve anybody other than the owner and you guys are now saying, hey, now let's take some time and let's see if we can get some. You can get this thing fixed or whatever it's going to take. If it's going to take 3 months or 6 months, I don't care. The scaffolding is going to stay up there now as our temporary means of egress. Does it remove the violation?
No.
No. Does it satisfy the egress for the temporary egress for the tenants and you guys to get in?
Yes.
Perfect. Same $25,000 fire escape repair. The vendor says, whatever vendor in that area says, listen, I can do repairs to that, emergency repairs to make that whole fire escape functional. I only want $5,000. Will that remove the violation?
If he repairs it.
Temporary repairs.
If he repairs it.
Temporary, no, temporary. The rust is still there, but he makes it safe for the tenants to get out and the firemen to get in. But it's temporary. But does it buy you 1, 3, 6 months to deal with that client?
There ain't a person in this room that's worried about dealing with the client. We're just going to tell it like it is.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to give you, because the blowback, it's nationwide. There's going to be blowback. I'm trying to tell you, the answer is $25,000, we're going to do nothing. We're trying to say, no, you're not going to do nothing. I know why they're not going to spend 25 grand or 12 grand or whatever the magic number is going to be that they can't afford at that moment. But what you're going to tell them, but I do have some options. And the options are, I can vacate the building.
because of the severity of the situation, I can keep the people in the building, but now I need a fire watch 24/7.
You do that all the time.
I can also order some scaffolding, and basically we'll basically mothball this fire escape temporarily while everybody's working their crap out. You know, let's get the scaffolding up right away. And by the way, I spoke with the vendor company that came in and gave them a price on this job, which was $12,000 or $25,000, whatever the number. And I asked them, what's your emergency, make this functional, which will not remove the violation. What's your emergency number? I could do this thing for $3 grand. Okay, let me speak with the owner. So which one's it going to be? Vacate the building? Fire watch 24/7? The scaffolding for $1,000 a month? $3,000 emergency repair by this guy? Oh, by the way, how many vendors you guys think nationwide that have a $15,000 job there that won't finance with the owner and spread the payment out over 3 months, 6 months? Today's economy, you know how many vendors will?
None.
They will. Everybody. You got it. Everybody will work with a client because they're going to say, dude, I'll do this job if you can give me $2,000 or $3,000 every month as you collect your rents, you know, because he can also stagger it out. He can do the emergency repairs, and every month he shows up and does a couple of $1,000s worth of work. And 6 months later, that $12,000 bill is a $1,000 a month problem. Which, as long as they keep collecting their rent, what do you care? You now don't have a problem where somebody just says, I can't do it, I don't have 12 grand. No. I have many options for you. Vacate the building. I can go fire watch, $1,000 scaffolding, $3,000 emergency repair, or $12,000 negotiated contract with this vendor, and just get this thing done so I can remove your violation.
The $3,000.
But there's nothing. It's not going to happen.
That's the certified load test, right?
No. The $3,000 is an emergency repair. I got a tread full of rust, man. You know. And all I did was go there. Is I took out the bolts, and I didn't take out the rust. I just put in new bolts. Right. So is that going to remove the violation if the rust stays? No. But if I put brand new bolts in that tread, can you stomp on it and save yourself? Yeah. That's called an emergency repair, and that's to make it functional, not certifiable. So,
legally, how long is an emergency repair good for?
Usually, it's up to you guys to decide. You want to give them 30 days, 90 days, 180 days to work this out. But a repair gets checked every month. We go back and double check the work all the time. Just to make sure, but it is in theory it just works. When I put a brand new bolt in that tread, in order for that new bolt to get eaten by the rust that I left behind, it's going to be 2 years, 3 years. We're not going to let this violation ride that long. This is to buy your client 1, 2, 3 months, 6 months, so that they can financially get out of the situation. Okay. So, with that being said, let me.
He leaves that on. He might leave that emergency thing on forever. But you just answered the question.
No. You didn't remove the violation.
Right.
So my question is, even though I did an emergency Band-Aid, did you remove the violation? No. You've already given the guy 30 days. You say, I want this 30 days. Or you negotiate with the owner what is feasible to the little old lady versus the slumlord who's like, I got no money. Let me get in my Cadillac. You're like, dude, you got 48 hours to get this thing going, or else you're done. You know what I'm saying? So it's really,
So a load test, how much does that cost usually?
Saying $5,000.
Let's say an average load test can run anywhere from $500 to $1,500 per floor. So if you got a simple system, and if you have 5 floors and it's $1,000 a floor, it's $5 grand for that. And none of that money buys a bolt. None of that money buys anything.
And that doesn't no repairs on a load test.
No.
How much does the certified inspection cost?
You want to? Okay. I was just trying to get.
I'm curious because
I'm just going to get this thing loading. Let me tell you what.
The first thing out of their mouth is I ain't got the money, so I can tell them straight up. Look, I know this is what this is going to cost you.
Most engineers.
I know what it's going to cost you when I start finding.
Right. So once you guys, here's some numbers. Ready? On average, an engineer, a structural engineer, and that's what you want to use, a structural engineer or a fire escape engineer, but a structural engineer will charge you anywhere from $75 to $175 an hour to deal with an initial inspection. Okay? So that means if that guy's going to get that client for 5 to 10 hours, and let's say it's a 10-hour situation, at $125, there's already $1,250 that the client's going to pay for an initial inspection. That's not including any oversight and anything.
That's no repairs, no nothing.
That's just to go there and tell you what's wrong with your situation. Now, and that's the report given to the client, and he's all done.
we charge in our inspections, so there's going to be a market play, but we charge anywhere from $189 to $489 for a typical residential up to a 3-story. So when you do the math, the average inspection of full metal stairs is $289, $389. Now, that means that we're going to be like a third to half the normal engineering fees, because they're always going to be in the thousands, but that's because that's our market. We know we know how to do it efficiently, but that's not us. Everybody who's going to get into this, you're going to say, hey, we don't want to use these guys from this company. We want to use a structural engineer. Say, great. You're going to, on average, find, if you can find the guy, you can find a structural engineer to come out for $75 an hour to $175 an hour, and he's going to eat up 5 to 10 hours playing with your fire escape. Driving there, getting there, doing there, driving back to a space, working on your photograph, doing some kind of report, speaking with you, he's going to eat up 5 to 10. So it could cost you $750, it can cost you $1,500 for this initial inspection. And that's just so the guy can talk to you intelligently and send you information. Done, right? Now they say, you know what? Yeah, we got some problems. We got to get to work. He's going to say to the inspector, listen, I want oversight on this. And the oversight is I want to make sure that whatever vendor you got is going to pull a permit and that he's in the trade. I don't want a landscaper, I don't want an electrician fixing this fire escape, I want a guy that's in the trade. A welding guy, or I want an ironwork guy. I goes, okay, well that's going to be another 10 hours because I need to do another initial visit when he starts, I need to do a mid-visit when he's halfway through and see what he's doing, and then I need to do a final visit just because I'm the one signing off. So I'm going to need 10 more hours. Okay, there's another $750 to $1,500 that the client has to pay the guy. Then you get into the point where the job is $5 grand or 10 grand to the vendor. Then that guy had to pull a permit with the city, which he paid 1% or 2%, and there's, $200 fee for permits and whatever. But it also means that the inspector from the city has to come out and do a final. He's not going to do a final until the engineer signed off on this thing, saying, she's done. A lot of times you don't do any painting on a fire escape until all the structural is signed off.
Right.
So, how have people been getting away with this till this today? If I do a repair, do I need a permit?
No.
See? The answer is supposed to be yes.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you how it's been done.
I don't know. And not just here. So don't think this is an East Orange situation. Let me tell you what we got away with, because I've been in this business. I'm 50 years old. I've been at this for 40 years since I got hijacked into the business by my dad. Let me tell you how they do it. You're supposed to pull a permit. As soon as you change one bolt, it's supposed to be a repair permit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a second thing you do to the fire escapes, and that you maintain them and paint them. Maintain them and paint them has a nice wide range of activities, which means painting. Do I need a permit to paint anything?
No.
So whenever I'm touching a fire escape and anybody catches me with my pants down, what am I doing?
Painting.
I'm painting. And it says, oh, I see you. You're fixing this. No, I'm maintaining. There's a little maintenance here. I have to change a couple bolts. Even though I changed all the bolts, I'm doing a little bit of maintenance. Changing bolts, I covered under my permit, which I never had to pull, which is painting. So if you write a violation and somebody repairs it that never needs a permit, do you see how many guys are getting into this business and fixing these fire escapes that are not even in the trade?
Yeah.
Landscapers, I've got electricians, plumbers, they're all fixing fire escapes all of a sudden. General contractors, why? Because there's no permit required and nobody's ever checking the permit, nobody's checking their work. And there's no engineer oversight because what they did is they got this initial inspection. They called their friend Harry the painter to come in and fix, and a lot of painting guys are now fixing fire escapes because all they're doing is painting. And then at the end, this engineer gets called for a walkthrough. 6 months later. No oversight, no babysitting. So all of a sudden he goes there and he gets to a fire escape that's nice and shiny black. Any cracks and crevices and holes and rust, I filled it with silicone to hide it from his view. He's not showing up with a power tool to go in there and start digging into the thing to see where what is caulking and what is rust. You show up a week later saying, because you wrote the violation, you want, hey, that looks good. You're not going to step on it. You get another inspection to get to right away. And all of a sudden now you're taking the word of this engineer who got duped himself. Because the owner found Joe the painter to fix his fire escape, not Harry the ironworker to fix the fire escape. But as soon as you start putting all these systems into play, now let's talk about this guy. This is a great one.
He was trying to get Cisco.
Am I blocking you?
No, you're not. Just.
there. The main thing that I want to talk about on these treads is that all of them have this much corrosion. And the point is, when you build this much rust, and this rust, if I could break some of it off, and I will. When you grow this much rust, this is a 1/4 inch of rust. As it grows, it eats my rivets, and eventually it pushes my tread so far away from my rivets that finally my tread can fall through. The rivet head is still here. Look on this side, man. The rivets are still here.
Yeah, it's a rivet. See the round? It's kind of dark, but it's round.
Yeah, I know.
Rust in between the connection, it pushes. So every one of these treads going up.
Every one now.
These treads has been pushed, so a lot of these rivets are false right now because they've popped. And then this is what needs to be done immediately. So the emergency repair on this fire
So it's hot and I'm running down that damn thing. Forget about it.
Including this one, for example. See? That's just because the rivet.
That was, like I said, it wasn't even fire.
What? See what just happened there?
Like that. Just touch it. You know, step.
I'm just going to come back a little bit.
And then this is what.
Now that's just my foot. I was just like, you know, hey, you know, and watch what happened to that last tread at the ground. Watch.
Including this one, for example. See? That's just because the rivet.
My weight.
Push this over.
Like that.
Like that.
Just touch it.
You know, I stepped on it.
So you're coming down. You're a 300-pound fireman, 200 guys with 100 pounds of weight of gear. You fall through. You're gonna snap your legs. You're gonna snap your knee forward. And that's what probably happened during that event, you know, 2 weeks ago.
Well, he didn't have on his gear. He was trying to help somebody get in the house. He didn't have on his gear.
Right, just a regular weight, 200-pound guy, yeah. I just stomped on that. That's all I did.
Who didn't get hurt? Richie,
So these come down to the ground, hit people on the
what's
head.
his name?
Yeah, so that was a point that I made. That was a point that I just made there. You know,
They were trying to help somebody get into the house.
Yeah, with
And
the
they were
lockout.
coming, yeah, and he was coming down, and he stepped on it.
Actually, he wasn't even going down.
Oh, he's
He was
going up? Oh, and he stepped on it and boom. I mean, he didn't hurt himself, but you can
And all he
see.
had on was boots and his bumper pants.
Yeah.
That's it.
so, and a lot of times these things fall and they come down 5 stories. You just step on it and it falls with and it falls to the street. And if somebody downstairs gets conked on the head with one of these things, they're out.
Has rust inside. So as part of the emergency repair, it's just not the ones that have clearly fallen, but all of them that have rust inside. You must either pop the rivet and put in temporary bolts while the rust stays there. Even though it's not a certified repair, you can just pop these out. But a lot of times these rivets are so hard to get out that the only emergency repair you can do is put a hole here, pop a new bolt in here temporarily to hold this temporarily. But the full repair is 100% removal of all the rust. So that seems to be the biggest problem on these fire escapes.
Fire escape. Just they might as well just replace them.
Imagine he was at the top.
One on,
Fell on down.
the one on William Street.
Yeah.
That's the damn. They can't even use it.
Scaffolding.
He's supposed to put a
Did you
new-
talk? They're at 32 North Road.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
So that
And they
escape.
still haven't repaired it.
Well, you can issue an emergency notice to put up scaffolding. That gets things moving. It's their bill. You know, if you guys have a rapport with 3 to 5 scaffolding companies, you can order scaffolding, and the scaffolding companies call them, get their credit cards from those people, and the other alternative is vacate
I've probably been here longer than anybody else. I don't think we've ever asked anybody to. Have you? Scaffolding.
No.
This shit is scary.
The one building that I did site for the fire escape repair, like it was just deteriorated. They actually replaced the fire escape with a brand new. They complied. It took a couple of months, but they complied.
Good. It's an opinion test. So let's take a look at. Now we're talking about these ladder issues.
Certified repair is that we've got evidence of tears that water's getting into the building. So a lot of connections into the building now connection into the building needs to be verified. So with that, let me
This used to be a high-end residence
I'll show you.
A lot of them are.
back in the day.
East Orange used to
So
be
there's
the,
emergency repairs, which is part of the violation.
used to be one of the richest towns in the
Be
country.
addressed. And now let's talk about the rest of it.
Now we do, these are all photographs of your ladders, rusted connections, tiebacks. So, with that, this is what you're going to use for training in the future. And I'm about to now start the class here. We're going to take just a 2-minute break, get another cup of coffee. I'm going to go through this because it's about 11:05, and we're going to end it. We're going to end at noontime, and I'm going to go through this, and we're going to have a game plan here that we're going to talk about the known. It's basically, you know, dog poo doesn't smell until you step in it, and some of the things that people will tell you, just leave it alone. You know, it's there. It's like, dude, don't move it. There's a stick in it. Don't touch it. Because right now, when it dries up and it's got a nice crust to it, you see it's there. You just ignore it. But right now, you guys are about not only to step on it, you're about to bring a